My name is Emma. I'm 17 years old. And the night I became someone unrecognizable started with 3 words my brother screamed through my bedroom door. You're dead to us. My twin brother Marcus had always been the golden child. Athletic scholarships, leadership awards, the kind of son parents parade around at dinner parties. I was the shadow twin, the weird one who sketched faces in margins and spent lunch periods in the art room instead of the cafeteria. When I got accepted into the National Youth Ballet Academy, I thought things would finally change. I'd spent 5 years training my body into something that could fly, pouring every ounce of discipline into perfecting movements most people thought were effortless. The acceptance letter came on a Tuesday, tucked inside an envelope with gold embossing. I walked downstairs clutching it like a sacred text, my heart hammering so loudly I could hear it in my ears. My dad was at the kitchen table, reading the newspaper. My mom stood by the coffee maker. Marcus leaned against the counter, scrolling through his phone. I got in, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. The Ballet Academy. Full scholarship. My dad didn't look up. My mom's hand paused on the coffee pot for exactly 2 seconds before continuing to pour. Marcus laughed without humor. Ballet? Are you serious? That's not even a real career. It's one of the most prestigious programs in the country, I said, feeling my throat tighten. People audition for years and never. Emma. My dad finally looked at me, and his eyes were cold. We've supported this hobby long enough. You're 17. It's time to think about reality. Marcus is going to Yale. You'll go to the state school and study something practical. Teaching, maybe. Or nursing. The letter trembled in my hands. This isn't a hobby. This is what I've worked for since I was 12. Then you wasted your time, my mother said flatly, turning to face me. We're not paying for some fantasy. You'll decline the scholarship and apply to normal schools like we discussed. We never discussed. This conversation is over, my dad interrupted, standing up. You want to throw your life away on dance, do it without our support. But you won't embarrass this family by turning down real opportunities for performance art. Something inside me cracked cleanly, like ice breaking on a frozen lake. Then I'll go anyway. The room went silent. Marcus straightened up, his expression shifting from amusement to something harder. What did you say? My dad asked, his voice dangerously quiet. I said I'll go anyway. I'll defer for a semester, work, save money, and... No, you won't. My mother stepped forward, and I saw something I'd never seen before in her face, genuine anger. If you walk out that door chasing this delusion, you don't come back. No room, no tuition, no family. You'll be on your own. I looked at Marcus, desperately hoping for some sign of support, some acknowledgement that this was insane. Instead, he met my eyes and shook his head slowly. They're right, Em. You're being selfish. Selfish. The word hit me like a slap. I had watched them pour money into Marcus's football camps, his SAT tutors, his college application consultants. I had never asked for anything except permission to pursue what made me feel alive. Fine, I heard myself say. I'm selfish. And I'm leaving. I turned and walked toward the stairs to pack, but my father's voice stopped me. If you leave, you're dead to us. Do you understand? No calls, no visits, no second chances. You'll be nobody. I looked back at my family, standing there in our pristine kitchen with its granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, and something dark and cold settled into my bones. Then I'll be a nobody who can dance, I said. That night, I left with 2 duffel bags and $847 in savings. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me, where are you watching from, and have you ever had to choose between your family and your future? Drop a comment. I read every single one, ****. I'm Emma, 17, standing outside a locked house with everything I own in 2 bags. And the only thing keeping me warm is the rage burning in my chest. The first week after leaving was a controlled free fall. I crashed on my friend Jade's floor, stuffing my belongings under her bed and trying to make myself as invisible as possible to her parents. During the day, I worked double shifts at a bubble tea shop near the mall. At night, I stretched in Jade's tiny room, keeping my body ready even though the academy start date was still months away. The silence from my family was absolute. No calls, no texts, no, "Are you alive?" and messages. Marcus blocked me on every platform. It was like I'd been erased. But then the sabotage started. 2 weeks after I left, I got an email from the academy saying my acceptance had been flagged for review due to concerns about the applicant's stability and family situation. Someone had called them anonymously, claiming I was experiencing a mental health crisis and had run away from home. I knew exactly who it was. My mother worked in university administration. She knew how these systems operated, what words would trigger red flags. I spent 3 days on the phone with the academy's admissions office, providing documentation, my training records, references from my ballet instructors, even a letter from Jade's parents confirming I was safe and had a place to stay. Eventually, they reinstated my acceptance, but the message was clear. They weren't going to let me succeed quietly. The second attack came through Marcus. He posted on social media a long, carefully worded thread about how worried the family was about me, how I'd always struggled with unrealistic expectations, and attention-seeking behavior. He framed it as concern, but every word was designed to make me look unstable. Comments flooded in. People from school I barely knew offered sympathy to Marcus, praising him for being such a caring brother. Some even tagged me, asking if I was okay, if I needed help. I wanted to scream. I wanted to write a post detailing every manipulation, every gaslighting conversation, every time they dismissed my dreams as childish. But I didn't. Instead, I started documenting everything. Screenshots, voice recordings from the few conversations I'd had with them before they cut contact, photos of text messages where my mother had explicitly told me ballet was not a real career. I stored it all in a locked folder on my phone, not sure what I'd do with it but knowing I needed evidence that I wasn't the unstable one. By the time the academy's start date arrived, I'd saved just enough for the first month's dorm deposit. I moved into a shared room with 3 other dancers, all of us living on scholarships and prayer. The training was brutal, 8 hours a day of technique, rehearsals, conditioning. My body screamed in protest, but I pushed harder. Because every time I wanted to quit, I remembered my father's face when he called me a nobody. And I used that memory like fuel. 6 months into the program, something unexpected happened. A choreographer visiting from a major company watched our showcase and singled me out. She wanted me for an apprenticeship position, an opportunity that usually went to dancers years older than me. The offer came with a stipend, enough to live on, and the promise of eventually joining the main company. It was everything I'd worked for, validation that I hadn't destroyed my life for nothing. That night, I posted a single photo on Instagram, me in rehearsal, mid-leap, captioned simply, signed with, company name, as an apprentice. Dreams don't need permission. I didn't tag my family. I didn't need to. Within an hour, my phone started buzzing. Unknown numbers, messages from distant relatives I hadn't heard from in years, all asking variations of the same question, is it true? Are you really dancing professionally? I ignored them all. But then Marcus's girlfriend sent me a DM, your brother is losing it. Your parents too. They didn't think you'd actually make it. I stared at that message for a long time, feeling something dark and sweet curl in my chest. Good. Here's my question for you. When the people who told you that you'd fail start panicking because you're succeeding, do you let them back in or do you let them watch from the outside? The apprenticeship was harder than anything I'd ever done. Morning class at 8 a.m., rehearsals until 6 p.m., then performances on weekends. My body was constantly sore, constantly bruised, constantly pushed to its absolute limit. But I loved it. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded by people who understood. Who didn't think dance was frivolous or impractical. Who saw the artistry and the athleticism and respected both. 6 months into the apprenticeship, the company promoted me to a full member. At 18, I was one of the youngest in the ensemble. the local arts magazine ran a feature, Rising Star, the teen dancer who defied the odds. They interviewed me about my background, and I told the truth. Not vindicatively, but honestly. I talked about being told to give up, about choosing myself over family approval, about the loneliness of starting from zero. The article went viral in dance circles. Then it spread beyond. Suddenly, I had messages from teenagers all over the country sharing their own stories of unsupportive families, of dreams dismissed as impractical, of choosing to fight anyway. And then my phone rang with a number I hadn't seen in over a year. My mother. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. Emma. Her voice sounded strained. We saw the article. Okay, I said, keeping my tone neutral. We've been trying to reach you. No, you haven't. You blocked me, remember? A pause. We thought you'd come back. That you'd realize this wasn't sustainable. And now that I've proven you wrong? We're proud of you, she said, and I almost laughed out loud at the absurdity. We always knew you were talented. We just wanted to protect you from disappointment. The gaslighting was so smooth, so practiced, that for a second I almost doubted my own memories. But then I remembered my father's words, "You'll be nobody." I don't need you to be proud of me now, I said quietly. I needed you to believe in me then. And you didn't. Emma, please. Don't contact me again. You made your choice. I'm making mine. I hung up before she could respond, and for the first time since leaving, I felt something close to peace. But the story didn't end there. Because 3 months later, everything changed. My father showed up at the theater after a performance. I saw him standing in the lobby as I walked out of the dressing room, still in stage makeup, my body exhausted from a full-length ballet. For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. Then he stepped forward, and I saw how much he'd changed. He looked older. Thinner. The confidence that had always radiated from him like armor was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like desperation. Emma, he said. Please. Just 5 minutes. People were starting to stare. Dancers I worked with, patrons still lingering. I didn't want a scene. Outside, I said. We walked out into the cold evening air. I crossed my arms, waiting. Your mother and I. He trailed off, running a hand through his hair. We made a mistake. A huge mistake. And we're sorry. The apology hung in the air between us, and I realized I felt nothing. Not vindication, not satisfaction, just emptiness. Why now? I asked. Why not a year ago? Why not when I was sleeping on floors and working 3 jobs? Because we were stupid. Stubborn. We thought we knew what was best. You thought you knew what would make you look good, I corrected. You didn't care what I wanted. You cared about your image. He flinched. You're right. You're absolutely right. And I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But Emma, you're my daughter. I miss you. Something in his voice cracked, and I saw tears in his eyes. Real tears, not the manipulative kind I'd seen from my mother. For the first time, I saw my father as something other than an obstacle, just a flawed, broken person who'd made terrible choices. I miss you too, I admitted, and felt my own eyes sting. I miss having a family. But I can't forget what you said to me. What you put me through. I know. And I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking for a chance. To be in your life again. Even if it's just phone calls. Even if you never forgive me. I looked at him, this man who had once told me I'd be nobody, now standing in front of the theater where I just performed in front of hundreds of people. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. I need time, I said finally. I'm not ready to just pretend everything's okay. But I'm not saying never. Relief flooded his face. That's all I'm asking for. Time. We stood there awkwardly for another moment before he pulled out his phone. Can I at least have your number again? I hesitated, then gave it to him. As he saved it, I caught a glimpse of his lock screen, an old photo of Marcus and me as kids, grinning in matching Halloween costumes. He'd kept it all this time. I have to go, I said, suddenly overwhelmed. We're celebrating cast night. Of course. Go. He smiled weakly. I'm really proud of you, Emma. Even if I have no right to be. I nodded and walked away, not trusting myself to speak. Behind me, I heard him call out one more thing. I was wrong. You're not nobody. You never were. Here's what I want you to think about. When someone who broke you comes back with genuine remorse, do you owe them forgiveness? Or is walking away, even from real apologies, sometimes the healthiest choice? ***. The months after that conversation were complicated. My father texted occasionally, always brief, never demanding. Updates about his life, questions about mine that felt genuinely curious rather than controlling. I responded maybe half the time, keeping my answers short but not hostile. My mother tried too, but her messages felt more calculated, more focused on presenting herself as the misunderstood parent who'd only wanted the best. I responded even less to her. Marcus never reached out at all. And somehow, that hurt the most. The company announced a tour, major cities across the country, and I was cast in a featured role. Not a principal part, but significant enough that my name appeared on the promotional materials. The tour was grueling but exhilarating. We performed in theaters that held thousands, and every night I walked on stage, I thought about the girl I'd been 2 years ago, terrified and alone with 2 duffel bags. During a performance in Boston, I saw them in the audience. 4th row, center. My mother, my father, and Marcus. I nearly missed my entrance. Afterward, they waited by the stage door with flowers. Generic grocery store bouquets that probably cost $20. My father looked nervous. My mother's smile was too bright, too forced. Marcus wouldn't meet my eyes. You were incredible, my dad said, handing me the roses. I mean it. I've never seen anything like that. Thanks, I managed. We drove 6 hours, my mother added quickly. We wanted to surprise you. To show you we support. Mom. I cut her off, suddenly exhausted. You don't get to show up with flowers and pretend the last 2 years didn't happen. Her face crumpled. I know. But Emma, we're trying. Doesn't that count for something? I looked at the 3 of them, this family that had once felt like everything and then like nothing at all. You're trying now, I said slowly. But where were you when I was scared? When I didn't know if I'd make rent? When I was so lonely I cried myself to sleep? We were wrong, Marcus said suddenly, speaking for the first time. His voice was rough, uncomfortable. I was wrong. I should have stood up for you. The admission shocked me more than anything else. Marcus never admitted he was wrong. Yeah, I said. You should have. We stood there in the cold night air, the sounds of the city humming around us, and I felt the weight of a decision pressing down on me. I could forgive them. Let them back in slowly, carefully, with boundaries and conditions. Try to rebuild something from the rubble. Or I could walk away cleanly, carrying nothing but the pride of having survived alone. Both options felt simultaneously right and wrong. I'm staying at a hotel downtown, I said finally. If you want to get coffee tomorrow morning before we leave for the next city, I'm willing to talk. Really talk. No more surface-level apologies. My mother nodded frantically. Yes. Yes, of course. But if this is just about easing your guilt, I continued, looking at each of them, if you're here because it looks bad that your daughter won't speak to you, then don't bother. I've built a life without you. I can keep living it. It's not about that, my father said quietly. I swear it's not. I wanted to believe him. Part of me did. But another part, the part that had learned to protect itself, remained cautious. Tomorrow morning, I repeated. 9 a.m. The cafe across from the theater. They agreed and left, and I stood there holding grocery store roses, feeling the familiar ache of wanting something I wasn't sure I could trust. The next morning, I showed up 15 minutes late on purpose. A small test. If they weren't there, I'd have my answer. They were all sitting at a corner table, 3 cups of coffee already ordered. Waiting. I sat down and looked at them. I need you to understand something. I'm not the same person who left your house 2 years ago. I'm not going to shrink myself to fit into your idea of who I should be. We don't want you to, my father said. And I'm not going to pretend you didn't hurt me. You're going to have to sit with the fact that you failed me. My mother's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. I know. If we do this, I continued, if I let you back in, it's going to be on my terms. Slow. With boundaries. And the second any of you tries to control my life again, I'm gone. For good this time. We understand, Marcus said. I leaned back in my chair, studying their faces, looking for signs of manipulation or performance. But all I saw was 3 people who looked tired and genuinely regretful. Okay, I said finally. Let's start over. Tell me what's been happening in your lives. And they did. Awkwardly at first, then more naturally. My father's business had struggled after Marcus's football career ended with an injury, the son he'd invested everything in suddenly unable to fulfill the dreams he'd had. My mother had left her job to take care of Marcus during his recovery. They downsized, moved to a smaller house, learned what it was like to have plans fall apart. It didn't excuse what they'd done. But it explained some of it. When it was time for me to leave for the bus to our next city, my father hugged me. A real hug, not the stiff, obligatory kind from before. I'm sorry I called you a nobody, he whispered. You're the strongest person I know. I pulled back, surprised by the genuine emotion in his voice. I'm not strong because of you. I'm strong in spite of you. He nodded, accepting the truth of it. I know. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of being your father again. 5 years later. I'm 23 now. A principal dancer with the company, living in a small apartment in the city with a view of the park where I run every morning. My name is on posters. I've been featured in magazines, given interviews about resilience and pursuing your dreams despite opposition. My relationship with my family is complicated but real. We have dinner once a month when I'm in town. We text regularly. My father never misses a performance if he can help it. My mother has learned to ask about my life instead of directing it. Marcus and I rebuilt something resembling sibling affection, though it's different now, more careful. They're part of my life, but they're not the center of it anymore. I've built my own center. Last week, I received a letter from a teenager in Idaho who saw one of my interviews. She wrote that her parents were forcing her to give up art for pre-law, and she was thinking about running away. She wanted to know if it was worth it. I wrote back and told her the truth. It's worth it. But it's harder than you can imagine. You'll be lonely. You'll question yourself 1,000 times. You'll wonder if you made a mistake. But if you stay and let them kill your dreams, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering who you could have been. And that's a different kind of death, ***. Choose yourself. Even when it feels impossible. Especially then, ***. I sealed the letter and sent it, thinking about the girl I was at 17, standing outside a locked house with 2 duffel bags and terror in my chest. I'd choose her again. Every single time. Here's my final question. If you could go back to the moment where everything fell apart, knowing how hard the path ahead would be, would you still walk away? Or would you choose the safety of surrendering your dreams, ***? Because I walked away. And I became exactly who I was supposed to be, ***. Comment below, what dream did you give up because someone told you it wasn't realistic? And if you could, would you chase it now, ***?